Hi everybody, my name is Eric Shannon and I'm here with John Butt, and welcome to another webinar edition of E-commerce Upgrade. So for anybody who is watching one of our webinars for the first time, let me briefly explain the theme of what we do. So John and I are e-commerce professionals who make our living by selling physical products online. We're not consultants, authors, or aspiring radio show hosts, but rather the point of these presentations is for us to meet and interact with some very serious experts in specific subjects that we think can help us in our own businesses. And our goal is to learn a few things each time that help us boost our own revenue, but also to share those insights with our peers, which are people like you who also live and work in the e-commerce space, whether that's selling physical products, services, or generating leads online.
Yeah, it's John here. Hi. And as Eric said, Eric and I operate various businesses that depend on the internet or a website for sales or for generating leads. And basically, if your business has a website, and I'm assuming it does, its job should be to generate sales or to generate leads or to give out certain types of information to a targeted audience. This is all forms of e-commerce, and the guests that we bring you will all have benefits for your business's online presence, no matter what size, whether you're a huge multinational or whether you're a local business. It's all going to help.
So the format of this webinar will be pretty straightforward. John and I are going to shut up while our guest gives his presentation. And then when that's done, John and I will probably have some specific questions about how some of the strategies in the presentation can be implemented in real-world situations. So if you do have questions along the way, please go ahead and enter them into the question box. We'll try to get to as many as we have time for, but even if we don't get to them today, we will pass them along to Howard, and he'll try to get back to you with more information.
Yeah, so for today's guest, we have Howard Jacobson, PhD. Now, Eric and I have seen him speak at various conferences. He's great, to be honest. He's the author of Google AdWords for Dummies and the founder of AskHowie.com. And to be honest, he has been advising online businesses since the internet was a small boy. So over to you, Howie. What have you got for us?
All right, thank you, Eric and John. So it's great to be here with everyone. So I'm trying a bit of an experiment, which is I've actually compressed 4 hour-and-a-half long presentations into one that will hopefully be 45 minutes. So in doing so, I'm not trying to teach you everything I know, but to kind of show you what's possible and how to think strategically about using Google to get more leads, to get more sales, to get better leads, to get higher conversions, to get more traffic, and to be able to use that in a very systematic way, even though a lot of what I'm going to be sharing with you is going to sound very sort of psychological and even a bit woo-woo. You know, I often get that reaction when I first start explaining this to people, that they don't see necessarily that these insights can be applied scientifically, but I assure you they can, and I'll show you how. Okay, so as I said, I'm the author of Google AdWords for Dummies. I am the founder of Ask Howie, and what I want you to get out of this webinar is an understanding of what Google really is. Because if you're going to use a tool, if you use it the way everyone else uses it, you're going to get the same results everyone else gets. If you understand it at a deeper level, you can get much better results from that understanding. I'll kind of point out why most Google advertisers end up losing money and how to use their failing to your advantage. And then the 3 tactical bits is how to write what I call obvious choice ads. And that means when you go to Google and you do a search, you see a whole bunch of stuff coming up in front of you, and occasionally when you do a search, one of those ads just speaks to you. And it says, this is the one, I'm the one. And I want you to learn how to do that for yourself. Second, how to nail the landing page headline. I think the landing page headline, and a landing page, for those of you who are not e-commerce junkies like me, Eric, and John, is the page that you get to after you click a link. So if you go to Google and you click something, you end up on a landing page. How to nail that headline. And I'll talk about why it's so important and strategies for doing that. And the third is about hidden objections and how to anticipate and answer the hidden objections that can sabotage your sales. So the agenda, again, what Google's really doing, I'm going to talk about, I promised you how to double, and I want to talk about what that looks like for just a bit so that this has some credibility to it. And then 4 aspects of a methodology I've developed called the Checkmate method. And it consists of the Checkmate Matrix, competitive positioning, what I call the avatar process, and if you've seen the movie Avatar, you can start thinking blue, and that will give you a head start. The hero's journey, which is a psychological construct that some people are familiar with around what each of us is doing, what's the goal of each individual life, and how do we see it mythically, and how that can relate when we understand that, how that can help us write better landing page headlines that really connect with what's going on in our prospects. And an exercise I call Dear Dr. Freud, and how that helps us write landing page copy, and then hopefully there'll be some time for your questions. So how your prospects see you. This is really what Google is all about. We advertisers think of Google as a place where we write ads or we do SEO and get our listings up there, but the prospects have a different view. So to give you a picture of this, let me introduce you to Miss Scarlett O'Hara. She is the protagonist of Gone with the Wind, the belle of the ball. She's the most eligible young bachelorette in antebellum Atlanta, and all the men are crazy about her. Here she is at a picnic at the Wilkes Plantation at the beginning of Gone with the Wind, and I hope you can see that all the men are doting over her. There's maybe 8 or 9 of them all standing around. They've got identical clothes on, they've got identical haircuts, they've got identical looks on their faces, they say the same things, they laugh at the same things. When she wants some dessert, they trip over each other to get it for her. And of course she is utterly bored with all of them, has no interest. Sure, she's flattered by their attention, but in the end, of course, she ends up with notorious bad boy Rhett Butler. And Rhett Butler was able to win her affection, or at least her hand in marriage, because he was different from everybody else. So that is the Google search results page, where your prospect is Scarlett O'Hara, and you and all your competitors are the beaus trying to win her heart. And if you go to any Google search results page and take a look, what you will see almost 100% of the time is what I call the sea of sameness. You will see everyone saying the same things. It's the first, most obvious thing that popped into their head as an ad. That's what gets on the page, and you'll see that when you go to look at search results pages, it's not easy to find the obvious choice. So that's the failing that I'm talking about, that most advertisers are not trying to differentiate themselves, they're not trying to be original, they're not trying to be compelling, they're not highlighting the things that their prospects really care about. Rhett Butler comes in totally different from the other suitors. He is surly, he's a little bit dismissive, he acts like he studied with a pickup artist, and he's so different that he ends up getting her attention. So we want you to avoid that failing, and because almost everyone is doing it, it's actually still, even in 2013, pretty easy to have a well-written ad rise to the very top of people's attention at Google. So let's talk quickly about the anatomy of doubling. So here's a pretty, a very modest prediction of improvement. So, and Eric and John, you can jump in and say, is it hard to increase your click-through rate of an ad by less than 25%, by 23.5%?
Nope, usually not too difficult.
You know, you just write for, not too difficult, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You know, it's just any ad that's a little bit different, a little bit better. It's very easy to make that kind of improvement. How about improving a landing page headline that gets 1/4 more people to read the page instead of heading right back to Google? Have you seen that?
Sure.
That yeah, I mean, yes, you could do that.
Yeah, this isn't like crazy talk, right?
Yeah, this is not rocket. Yeah.
And then a landing page body conversion, so that once they've clicked the ad, 23.5% more of them come to your landing page. You write a better headline, and 23.5% more of them end up reading the whole page. And then you improve your landing page body so that it answers objections and it converts 23.5% more of them to leads or sales. Well, when we look at it, that's not doubling, In fact, let's take out the ad click-through rate increase entirely. Let's remove that top one because that's not about conversion rate. That's just getting us more traffic. We can always get more traffic, but we have to spend for it if we're doing AdWords, and we have to work for it typically if it's organic, at least at the beginning. But the second two, if we improve the headline and we improve the body, if we multiply those two together, we don't get a 47% increase just by adding them. We get a 52% increase. Well, that's still not exactly doubling. And I want to leave that hanging to show you later what the significance is of just getting a 52% increase in your conversion from your AdWords traffic and how that can compound. But right now, I'll leave that as a little teaser and talk about the tools. The first one is a tool that I came up with maybe 7 or 8 years ago now called the Checkmate Matrix. And all it is was, when I first wrote AdWords for Dummies, one of the pieces of advice I gave people was look at your competitors' ads. It just seems like a good idea. You know, you're competing against them, you want to learn from them, you want to see what they're saying. But beyond that, I didn't have a clue as to what you were supposed to do with their ads. You know, I was just looking at them. Okay, I'm looking at them. Now what? And eventually it occurred to me that these ads are simply direct response advertisements. And direct response advertising has a good 100-year pedigree, and elements of direct response are well known. So I just wrote down a bunch of them, and they've evolved over the years. But here's a basic one that could fit on a slide. Starts with the offer. So what's the offer that's being made? What are they actually telling you you're going to get in an ad? And not all ads have offers. Some of them it's implied, some of them it's stated, some of them it's not even implied. Second, what are the features of either the offer or the company? Third, what are their benefits? And very often you'll see, if you do this for a search results page, you'll see there are actually very few benefits. Most ads focus on features. CTA is call to action. Is there a statement saying, do this, buy now, click here, download a free demo, stuff like that. RTB, reason to believe. Is there credibility baked into the ad itself? Voice is, does the ad speak to you in a particular voice? For example, if you had an ad that ended with dough, everyone would hear Homer Simpson. So does the ad have a voice? Does it sound like a used car salesman? Does it sound like a compassionate friend? Does it sound like someone who is tweaking or challenging you, who wants to be a bit confrontational? Does it sound like someone who is kind and caring? That sort of thing. And the hook is kind of the difference. I think of it as the difference between this ad and all the others. How is it trying to differentiate itself? So let's take a look at an example. So here we are. The keyword that I chose was GMAT prep. So that's the test to get you into business school. And you can see up at the top here there's 3 ads, and all the way down the side are ads. And if you take a quick look while I'm talking and see if anything really jumps out at you, as this is an obvious choice ad. If I want to take the GMAT and I want to prepare for it, anything here really leap at you. So I'll show you how I go about filling out the matrix. So that's the page that so I would print that out, and I would go through and for each one I would say, okay, ad number 1, cap test, what's the offer? Save $100. Features, $100 off. Call to action, enroll today. Reason to believe, Kaplan's a well-known name, Kaplan Test Prep. The voice here was kind of car dealer. The hook, it's $100 off a known brand. And the keyword is, does the keyword exist in the ad? And if so, how much? Don't worry about that one. Second one, Manhattan GMAT, offer C events, no features, no benefits, a sign up here. The voice, it was kind of funny. It sounded a little bit like Latka from Taxi. If we take a look at Manhattan GMAT, see the events in Raleigh-Durham and visit our store, sign up here. It just didn't sound like someone was writing in English. And you can see I did it for all of them. So as we just look at this visually, I want you to understand that I didn't do anything brilliant. I didn't do anything deep. I didn't do anything analytical. I just wrote down what I saw. So here we have very few features. Sorry, very few benefits. Lots of features, lots of offers. As a fair amount of calls to action, pretty good reasons to believe, but benefits is weak. And the two benefits, one is free and the other is particular point improvements. So from that, we're tell me if you think you can already come up with improvements just by looking at the other ads, just by seeing what's missing from those other ads. So here's an example of a differentiation brainstorming for strategic positioning using that keyword. So for example, an offer could be a free report on how to score higher, how to study less, how to set up a schedule, use the Mozart effect, how to cram at the last minute. If people want to prep, maybe they don't want to jump right into a company that's going to do it. Maybe they want some information on how to do it themselves, and that could lead into a sale. All right, what other features could you offer? Well, there's almost nothing about convenience. There's almost nothing about a risk reversal. We'll give you your money back if you don't score higher. There's almost nothing about customization or attention. Benefits. You can get into a better business school. There's more scholarship money available. There's a better job selection upon graduation. Nobody's talking about those real big benefits, and so on. So then I came up with a list of research questions about the market. Things I want to know. Who searches for that? What do you know about them? What do they do for fun? Why are they motivated? When do they start searching? What's important to them? What are they confused about? What triggered their search? What rings true? What rings false? And from there, you can just come up with a bunch of ads. And here's some that I came up with. I aced my GMAT, in quotes. First-person shooter here. 95% average improvement, local classes filling up now, unlockthegmat.com. So I'm also experimenting with different URLs. Too busy? Single weekend courses, guaranteed improvement. So that's dealing with the idea of convenience. GMAT prep from winners. All our teachers ace the GMAT 99% or they work for the competition. I like that one. GMAT prep guide. How to ace it, free report. Tips and tricks from the top 1%. Again, one of those features was that all our teachers got 99%, but they aren't leveraging that fact. So you can go over the rest of these. I'm going to skip ahead. And so that is the matrix. You simply assess the elements. What's on the page, what's not on the page, and when you do it. This happens to almost all my students, then they don't believe it before they do it. Once you just do that, better ideas will immediately jump into your head without even having to think about it. So that's step one, the Checkmate Matrix. Step two is what I call the avatar process, and inspired by the movie Avatar, where the human gets into his avatar body in order to learn about these blue people, the Na'vi, in order to outmaneuver them in mineral rights negotiations. So he's jumping into their skin in order to basically sell them better on his interests. What happens, I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but once he really gets into their skin and starts living their lives, is he ends up falling in love with them. And that's what can happen with you and your market. If you go deeper than Checkmate into that matrix, and you really go into understanding who these people are and what they care about. And you can use intuition for this, you can use market research, you can use your own customer database and sort of knowing what people are interested in and what they care about. So here's a simplified version of it that you could take away and start using tomorrow. You take your keyword, GMAT prep, and you ask two questions. You ask one question with three sub-questions. Why are they searching? And the first sub-question is, what problem do they want to solve? And you can think about that. That's usually the easiest question. I want to solve the problem of I don't feel prepared for the GMAT, or I took it before and my score wasn't good enough to get into the business school of my dreams or to get the scholarship I wanted. That's usually pretty obvious. The second two are much less obvious. What feeling do they want to get rid of? Now you can imagine lots of different feelings, and the more you know about your market and your clientele, the better you'll answer this. But I find that intuition often works well. What would I be feeling? I'm nervous. I want to walk in confident. I have this self-talk that I'm not going to be any good at this. I feel defeated already. I feel discouraged. I want to feel empowered. And you can go through many, many iterations of that. The second question, even more interesting, what feeling do they want to have at the end of the search? I want to feel confident. I want to feel empowered. I want to feel relieved. I want to feel responsible. That could be a big one. I want to feel like I've taken an adult action here, and I'm moving forward, and I'm not leaving it to chance. You know, I was a kid, I was irresponsible, but I got, you know, by golly, I got the application in to take it. I registered, I know where the course is, and now I'm going to do the adult thing and do the best I can beforehand so that I can ace this test. And after you have, then you write a diary entry for 5 minutes as if you were the prospect who was about to sit down at the computer, put their hands on the keyboard, and type the words GMAT prep. You take your hands off the computer, you take a pen in your hand, you open your diary, and you write about what you're feeling about that search. Dear diary, I signed up for the GMAT, and I am looking, I went through the test prep booklets that I bought at Barnes & Noble, and I'm really not doing well, and the explanations aren't really working for me, and I think I need some help. I've been wanting to go to business school for years. I finally saved up enough money to pay for the first semester, but I'm hoping to get a scholarship to really sail me through, and I know I need to do better on this test. Who can help me? Now with that, all of a sudden, you can go back to your ads and you could write very different ads for that person. So let me give you an example of a GMAT, of an avatar process, not the whole process, but the results. And maybe you can, so here was an example for the keyword Gretsch guitar. I love Gretsch guitars, so I chose that because it was an easy and fun one for me to do. Here were 2 ads when I searched for Gretsch guitar. One was for Guitar Center, which is a nationwide chain of rock music instrument stores. Electric guitars at Guitar Center, free shipping on thousands of items. And then Gretsch guitar for same-day music, which was online only, ships free, tons of Gretsch in stock, 60-day low price promise. So I did a real quick matrix there, which is always useful. Just you can see how long that must have taken me, probably 5 minutes. And then I went through the avatar process, and I imagined somebody just like me, because that was easy, what they'd care about. Like, if you're thinking about buying a Gretsch guitar, which was the guitar that George Harrison played on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, it's played by Chet Atkins. It's got a very twangy, sweet sound. It's not for everyone, but people who like it really like it. Is someone searching for a Gretsch guitar really going to get so excited about free shipping? Right? Is that the big thing they care about, or are there other things? Are there emotions involved? So let's take a look at these other ads that I generated by going through the Checkmate avatar process and see what you think. A Gretsch, are you sure? Play one and you'll never touch a cheap guitar again. We warned you. Test our Gretsch guitars. Spend as much time as you like in our soundproof demo room. So that would be one for the for Guitar Center, which has demo rooms. It's not just online. So Gretsch, duh, but which one? Talk to our Gretsch experts to please your hands, ears, and wallet. So here we're talking about we have expertise. We love these instruments as much as you do. Gretsch is all we sell. All models in stock. Play your Gretsch guitar tomorrow. Play like George. And here you can see recapture it is the end of the URL. Nothing gently weeps like a Gretsch. Modern and vintage models in stock. So that speaks specifically to someone who is into this for nostalgia, who remembers the sound, and who has an affinity for George Harrison. You can see it's got played like George. Anyone who doesn't know this is about George Harrison just skips over that. But when you say gently weeps, any Beatles fan immediately connects with this ad. It's like an inside joke. Feel the classic twang. Try before you buy, hundreds of locations nationwide. That is for the tactile person, for the kinesthetic. I always wanted a Gretsch. Well, now you can have one. Merry Christmas, old man, with the little smiley winky face, as if someone who has played guitar but has never, I really want this nice instrument, but I feel a little bad because I'm not that good, but I've got the money now, and I really want it, and this is giving them permission. Or my favorite one, strap on, plug in, shred, smile as his eyes widen, Dad, I never knew you could rock. For me, that would be the big winner. That would be the ultimate benefit, is being able to inspire and impress my son whose eyes widen. So that is an example of how to use that the avatar process, which I didn't give you in full detail, but enough that you can understand where it's going. You really get into their head, and then you can write ads that are completely differentiated from the other ads you'll see on the page. So those are the two techniques for ad writing. So now let's talk about landing page headlines. So I call them hero's journey headlines, and let me explain the hero's journey as quickly as I can. It's the basis of every epic story. It's seen by some depth psychologists as the psychological basis of each of our lives, in that we believe deep down that we're the hero, and we are. We're all the hero of our own story. And there's lots of formula movies and books and comic books that are so popular. So let me prove it to you. So here it is. It starts out with the ordinary world. And usually there's something wrong with the ordinary world. It's, in the fairy tales, there's a drought, or the princess is dying, or the king and queen are barren, or there's a dragon. Something's, everything's sort of okay, but not great. Then there's the call to adventure. The hero somehow is challenged to do something about it. And the hero almost always refuses the call. No, that's not me. I'm not the hero. Then there's the meeting with the mentor, someone who tells them their true name, tells them their real story. They're not just an orphan, but they come from royal blood. And finally, they cross the threshold. And that's the beginning of the hero's journey. There's many more stages but we're not going to talk about, because we're talking about the induction into the hero's journey. So, for example, Star Wars. Ordinary world, Luke is a bored farm boy. Call to adventure is Princess Leia's message on the droid he just bought. The refusal of the call, no, I'm just a farm boy. He returns to the farm. Then he meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he gets his dad's lightsaber, and he's told, your father was a Jedi. He was a great warrior, and he was killed by Darth Vader. And so now he has a pedigree, and he has a magical item that empowers him, and he knows his history, and he realizes that he is a hero. And then he leaves his home planet. Harry Potter, ordinary world orphan in the Dursleys' home, living in the cupboard under the stairs, badly treated. The call to adventure is the letters he gets from Hogwarts saying, come be a student at our Wizard Academy. He refuses the call mostly under coercion of his uncle, but he also says, I'm not a wizard. When Hagrid comes, he says, I'm not, you have me mistaken. I'm just an orphan boy. I'm no wizard. Then he learns the truth from Hagrid. Your parents were wizards, Harry. They didn't die in a car crash. And finally, crossing the threshold, he chooses to go to Hogwarts. Not only does he learn the truth from Hagrid, but he gets an owl, and he then gets his wand, and he gets the tools that allow him to be the hero that he is. So the start of the hero's journey, let's take a look at it from a search perspective. The ordinary world is your prospect is searching for something. They don't have it. They want to improve their life in some way. They want some information. They are scared about something. So the call to adventure is their primary search trigger. What made that person type GMAT prep? What made that person type Gretsch guitar? Something called them to this next adventure. Then they refuse the call, which is their primary objection. Oh, it's too expensive. I really don't have time for this. I'm working full time. I couldn't spend time on a course. Or, I don't know, the teachers, if they're so good, if the teachers did so well, why are they teaching GMAT prep instead of running businesses? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's some sort of rationalization that allows you to not be the hero, that allows you to stay small and not step up. Then comes the meeting with the mentor, which is the secondary search trigger. And this is what happens on the landing page. At the very top of the landing page, you're saying to them, I know you've put this off, I know you're confused, but let me tell you about yourself, let me tell you who you are, and let me tell you why I'm credible to give you this information. And then crossing the threshold is then opting in for a lead or making a first purchase. So for example, let's say the search is get out of debt. In the ordinary world, someone's in debt, they're struggling, they're a victim. The call to adventure, Could be their maxed out card. Picture someone going to the supermarket to just buy a few items. They take their child with them, and they've got, you know, milk and bread and a bunch of bananas, you know, just to get them through. Maybe some peanut butter and Ritz crackers and some ramen to stretch the budget, and they hand over their credit card because they got no cash in their wallet, and the cashier sort of embarrassedly hands them the card back and whispers, "I'm sorry, it was declined." So do you think that might be a cause for them to come home and do a search? I got to get out of debt. Now you have to realize that at that point, they didn't just go into debt. They'd been in debt for a long time, but it was a call to adventure that finally made them say enough. Then they're going to go to the website, they're going to go to Google and do the search, and they're going to be overwhelmed, and they're going to say, I can't do anything about this. Who am I kidding? It's me. They can give me the best plan in the world, but I can't follow it. You know, maybe I'll spend it on lottery tickets or beer when I don't feel good. I can't live in a budget. And there's the refusal. Then, if they're lucky, and if they meet you and you're the mentor, they come to a trustworthy, resonant landing page that explains to them, here's who you really are. Here's what's really going on in your life. Here's why you're in debt, and here's how we can help. Filling out that form would consist of crossing the threshold into this new world. Basically, the hero's journey is about that point of no return into a new world where new things become possible, new challenges step up and they grow. And that's what each of you, no matter what you sell, everyone who's been resisting anything in their life is resisting everything in their life. You have an opportunity here to call them to be the hero or heroine that they were meant to be. So the danger points here is they could refuse the call permanently, or they could choose the wrong mentor, which is why it's so important for you to understand how a landing page headline can do this. So the job of the ad, your ad is to get them to say yes to the call, and the job of the landing page is to get them to cross the threshold by you choosing you as their mentor. So let's talk about how this works for headline types, because I wanted to talk about landing page headlines. There's 3 types that I'm going to talk about. One is called hold their head underwater. Second one is a person problem identifier, and the third one is the value disqualifier. So let's get this real quickly. Hold their head underwater. The headline is, how long are you willing to put up with blank? And the instructions are, you name their problem and you reframe it in terms of what matters to them. So here's some examples. Executive search firm. So the trigger, what made them search, was another late night at the office because your clueless boss didn't anticipate a situation that was completely predictable. And you have to call home and say, I'm sorry, I can't come home, we can't go out tonight, leave the dinner in the microwave, I'm sorry, you'll be in bed, I'll try not to be too loud. And then the headline for that kind of search is, how long are you going to put up with a crappy job that drains your happiness and wastes your potential? So here's another example for someone selling a HEPA vacuum cleaner with that very high level of filtration. The trigger is a child's scary nighttime asthma attack. Holding them, holding giving them the spritz of the medicine, maybe even turning on the ventilator thing, the breather that they put on, taking them to the emergency room again. Again, how long will you continue to use a vacuum cleaner that harms your child while it cleans your floor? When do you use this? When they are stuck in refusing the call. This is a very, very high caliber weapon that you're using, and you have to use it when people are stuck in refusing the call. They're not doing it. It happened again, it happened again, it happened again, and they're still not stepping up to even accept the call. When you need to reframe the problem to move them the action. If the problem is job search, if the problem is crappy job, squandering my life, wasting my potential, then that's something that's much more actionable. When you want to harness their shadow in the service of their journey. So if they have a lot of negative thoughts about themselves, those negative thoughts are there. I hate my job, I'm stuck in this job, there's nothing I can get that's better, I'm a loser, or I'm a bad parent, I'm not there for my child, somehow I'm not doing the right thing, we can't move to a nicer neighborhood, I don't make enough money, and all these blame shame voices. And you can harness them for good. And right now what they're doing is harnessing them to just beat themselves up and not move forward. Those voices, the light side of those shadow voices is that they could spur action. and that's your job. And then you follow the headline with, you explain the connection between their situation and how it's causing them to lose what they care about. So I'm going to skip over that to talk about the other two. So here's some variations. What's it costing you? Or a hero one. What will it feel like when you finally? Or villains. Are you letting so-and-so? Are you letting lousy bosses? That sort of thing. Headline B, person problem identifier. Are you a blank who is looking to blank plus a time frame? You describe the searcher, you name the problem, and you test urgency with different time frames. For example, executive search firm, your trigger was your former colleague just sent you an email saying, hey, here's my new contact information at, gosh, a company you'd love to work at. Then the headline can become, are you a manager looking to get out of an unfulfilling and annoying job in the next 60 days? HEPA vacuum cleaner. The trigger is, your prospect reads a newspaper story about the epidemic of childhood asthma, and it mentions vacuum cleaners, so they go and search for a HEPA vacuum cleaner. Are you a parent looking for a vacuum cleaner that will protect your child's health right now? When you use this, after the resolution of the refusal of the call, you can't use this for people who've refused the call. These people have already said yes to the call, and now they're looking for what's my next step? Where do I go from here? They've shown up, and they're looking for the mentor. What is my next step? I am ready to take this on. And you use it when you know who is searching, who they are, and when you know what they're searching for. When the problem is already framed in a way that matters to them. So you're not teaching them that HEPA vacuum cleaners can help with their child's asthma attack. They know that. And now you're saying, are you ready to step up? It's a different kind of challenge. It's a challenge to someone who's already empowered. And we'll skip this, how to follow the headline. Variations, you can start with at last or finally to acknowledge their impatience. You can make it a story instead of are you, how a blank got blank in time, how a parent got the HEPA filter and saved their child from asthma attacks right away. The problem only, if you don't, are you struggling with, or a double win? Are you a blank, the person who is looking to find a new job in the next 60 days while not having to spend a ton of time being interviewed? So it could be a double win. Things that they think are mutually exclusive, you can get them both. Number 3, value disqualifier. This is the simplest form, blank for blank dollars. It's simple. Name the solution, name the price. So for example, the executive search firm, the trigger is, don't bother with recruiters. They're useless in this economy. Find a good fee-based consultant whom you trust. Now the headline is, find the perfect job much quicker than you could on your own and pay for our services out of a small percentage of your raise. So the what is the perfect job, and for how much is a small percentage of your raise. The pediatrician tells the parent, get a new vacuum cleaner to control indoor air pollution and dust mites. The headline is, the vacuum cleaner that's also the world's best air filter for $969. Object, price. You use this when they've already made the connection between the search and their desired outcome, when they already know what they want, when they're searching for a simple transaction, and when you want to eliminate all competition for their dollars. You're just comparing the solution to the price. Is this solution worth this price? Is your dream job worth a small percentage of the raise you're going to get? Is the knowledge that your child is not going to have asthma attacks in the middle of the night worth $969? It's a very simple disqualifier. Variations, if you give me blank and time, you'll get blank, so it's a guarantee, or a conditional guarantee. If you meet these conditions, then I guarantee the result, or a penalty, or your money back, or an extra $300, or a trip to Disney, whatever that is. So the landing page headlines, I spent a lot of time on this because, in my opinion, it is the highest leverage element of the entire marketing process. If you pay good money, $3, $5, $10 a click to get someone to your website, and they look at your landing page headline and they head right back to Google for another search after 7 seconds, that is all wasted money. And you don't even want to think about the hourly rate that you've just paid for their attention, $10 for 7 seconds. Or instantaneous, you also get instantaneous testing, which is to say, some of you have businesses where conversions don't happen all the time. They're big, they're expensive, and so how could you possibly test for conversions? Well, you can test for, is someone's bouncing back off your landing page, or are they spending some time there? And that's a really good proxy place to begin to test, so you don't have to wait for the once a week sale if you sell a really high ticket item. You can be collecting data on a much faster basis. Last one I'm going to talk about is called Dear Dr. Freud, and I use this for landing page copy. I won't go through it, but I'll describe it. And the purpose of Dear Dr. Freud is to uncover and answer hidden objections. And here's the key. Search marketing is not about building desire. If you ever heard of the AIDA or AIDA formula, A-I-D-A, attention, interest, desire, action. That's how classically we're taught to create sales material. First we get their attention, hey you, then we get their interest. You want a HEPA filter for your vacuum cleaner? Yeah. Then you build desire. Here's what this is going to do for you. Here's why you want it. And then you ask for action. The thing is, this was done when you were writing sales letters that appeared in newspapers or they got mailed to people's homes when there was no predisposition of desire. They hadn't said, yeah, I want this. For search marketing, it's not about building desire. They are driven by desire. They search because of desire. They click your ad because of desire. They end up on your landing page because of desire. You don't have to spend time building desire. What you have to do is remove the obstacles to fulfilling that desire. And the obstacles, or we call them objections, and what they really are is your prospects are projecting onto you every disappointment that they've ever felt that this reminds them of. Oh, well, somebody cheated me online. You're online. Someone cheated me online once. How do I know I can trust you? Or, yeah, I believe that, you help other people get out of debt, but you can't help me. I'm a hopeless case. Whatever those things are, we want to identify them from past disappointments. And the Dear Dr. Freud process involves, just like the avatar diary entry, it involves coming up with getting a group of people together, having them pretend to be your avatar, and have them tell you all the reasons they wouldn't buy. And like a good psychoanalyst, you don't try to convince them, you don't try to argue with them, you just say, uh-huh, okay, and you ask two psychoanalytic questions. You ask them, has something like this happened before? And they will tell you, and they will give you their experiences about when this happened before. And then you ask, and how did that make you feel? And so those two questions, has something like this happened to you before, and how does it make you feel? You will generate a wealth of objections. And your landing page copy, the rest of your landing page below the headline, is all about anticipating and answering the objections that should not get in the way of the sale. Obviously, there's some objections that should. I've got $10. Can you sell me a HEPA vacuum cleaner? No. That's a good objection. But if the objection is, I don't like to change, the filter bags are too expensive, and I don't like changing them. And then you say, well, the filter bags, they last much longer. They last 4 times longer. You can have cloth bags that are reusable. And here's how easy it is to change. Let me show you a video. You can change the bag in 10 seconds. So the purpose of the landing page is to understand, answer, anticipate, neutralize objections. And what that does, it doesn't just sort of beat them up, but it shows them you're thinking about them, you care about them, and you have thought hard enough to understand where they're coming from. So that's the fourth technique. So let's get back quickly to the keyword bid economics. Do you remember I had those 23.5%? So let's say you're bidding on GMAT Prep, and all you can afford to pay based on your conversions is $2.50. So here you can see this is the Google AdWords traffic estimator. And here we are at $2.50. And you can see how many clicks they think you're going to get per day on that keyword based on where you're bidding. So at $2.50, you're about 5 clicks a day. And if you were able to spend $27, you could go all the way up. You could quintuple or more your clicks. And here you can see, so daily clicks is about 5 out of 1,700 impressions. Average position means you're about the 6th ad down the side. You're not in the top 5, you're in the 6th or even sometimes lower. So let's say we do those things and we get our 23.5% landing page headline improvement, and we multiply that by a 23.5% conversion improvement, both of which are very modest. That's a 52% improvement. So if we can make 52% more money from each click, then guess what? We get to spend 52% more money. So let's see what that looks like. We're only up to 380. We haven't gone much farther. But now what happens is, well, we get a few more impressions, but we get more clicks. Why do we get so many more clicks? 8.26, so that's an improvement of over 60%, from 5 to 8.26, 60% more traffic. And just remember, that's only one keyword. We're talking about over the entire account. Because our average position has gone up. We're higher on the page. We're at 5 or better now instead of 6 or lower. And it's very modest. But when we do that, when we get more clicks, when we get more traffic, then we get to test more. And when you test more, you improve more. When you do more of the matrix stuff, when you do more of the avatar stuff, more of the headline stuff, and more of the Dr. Freud answering objection stuff, we could end up going to 7, to 14. And these are all little incremental boosts. And that's why even small improvements can lead pretty easily to a compounding, to a doubling. So if our new max bid, 250 times 52%, becomes that $3.80 bid, and that's, you know, for a similar number of impressions, that's a 60% increase in traffic across the account. And more traffic, as I said, means more testing. More testing means you get better faster, you get a higher Google position. You can afford to spend more with Google. You can afford to spend more in other places. Other places might have been prohibitive, but once you make those improvements, once you improve your conversion, once you can make more money from every click than your competitors, then you can expand beyond Google. You can expand beyond SEO. You can expand into print, into more expensive print. The more the value of a visitor to your website, the higher the value of a visitor, the more places you get to advertise, because now you can afford them. So that's the entire process, which I call checkmating the competition. It gives you a higher response rate to your ads, a higher visitor value, lower cost per lead and sale, higher profits, more money to spend on advertising, which means a virtuous cycle for you, a vicious cycle for your competitors who are still stuck doing the same old thing, and checkmate with 2 exclamation points. Thank you so much. I hope this has been helpful. I'm here to take some questions. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to askhowie.com. I'm also happy to talk with you individually to see if there's a way that I can be of service to your efforts at doubling your leads and sales.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Howard. John, I don't know about you, but I took a lot of notes for myself there, and I was racing through ideas in my head about some of the products that I own and how to revamp some of my stuff. So I'm kind of anxious to get into my AdWords account right now.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing is I've got a smaller sized notepad, and I wish I'd had a larger page notepad because that's pretty good. And some of the things you said at the end there reminded me about stories I've heard from a couple of successful marketers that had the same thing, especially where you mentioned there that the more profits you make. I know of a guy very successful in the fitness trade, by improving his conversion, put his profit rate up to a point where he could afford to advertise in places where his competitors could not afford to advertise, and he trebled his sales. It was very profound, and it's something that you wouldn't have thought of in the maths. You would just the fact that you got access with extra profits to more places to sell.
Right. Well, you know, and the way I think about it is I go down to my local farmers market in the summer, and there's 2 farmers, and they both have, you know, buckets of sweet potatoes. And one farmer, the sweet potatoes are just like 1% better looking than the other farmers. He won't make 1% more money. He'll sell out before anyone buys a sweet potato from the second farmer. So that, you know, you see it. It's counterintuitive maybe, but the huge compounding advantage of a slight advantage is just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Hey, before I get into some of my questions, so Howard offered to speak with any of you individually about your marketing and your AdWords. If you want to take advantage of that, just type something in the box right now, just so we'll have a record of it and we can send you an email with how to facilitate that. Um, so just do that right now if that's something that you want to take advantage of. So, John, I'm gonna ask a question first here. So,
Sure.
when we're going through all these examples, let's just take the vacuum cleaner example, where it might be a mother whose child has asthma attacks, or it could be, I don't know, a guy that's allergic to his new girlfriend's pet cats. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons somebody would be interested in that. So, how do you kind of try to target all of them on a keyword phrase like HEPA vacuum cleaner?
Right, beautiful question. So, because the keyword doesn't come with demographics attached.
Right.
It's just someone typing in HEPA vacuum cleaner. So the first thing I would say is, based on the keyword, kind of what their level of awareness is. So HEPA vacuum cleaner is a higher level of awareness than vacuum cleaner for allergies, because it's an answer to that question. So you want to look at sort of what's their state of awareness. Are they even aware that there's a problem? If they're searching, they're aware of a problem. Are they aware of possible solutions? Yes, so vacuum cleaner is a possible solution, but higher up is a specific type of vacuum cleaner called the HEPA vacuum cleaner. Then maybe they've done some research and they type in Mealy HEPA vacuum cleaner, and they go, oh wow, they've really done their homework. So that's one way in which you can glean clues from the keyword. But otherwise, you're right. There's no way to know. Is it a parent with a child? Is it a boyfriend who's allergic to cats? What AdWords can do to come to our rescue is it can allow us to test. We can put up a bunch of different ads for each keyword and see, well, which one's getting the most clicks. So you can actually test who is the who. You can have one ad saying, for cats, love cats, hate the dander. Solve your problems with the with our line of HEPA vacuum cleaners, or one of the ads I showed for a parent. And you can just take a look at those two and look at the results. Which one gets more clicks? Which one gets more conversions? And that will give you a sense of who it is. Now, you may decide that it's split so evenly that you're going to lose out by being specific at all, in which case you hop up a level of generality, saying, asthma, allergies, runny nose, a good HEPA vacuum cleaner solves them all. But you won't know that unless you test.
Right. How could retargeting play into that? Like, what if you had a more general ad, but ran a couple different display ads on retargeting, each targeting a segment?
You better very, very briefly explain what retargeting is, just in case. Right.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So retargeting is basically following people around the internet with your ads. So if they land on your site, you can cookie them, and you can cookie them generally. Like, anyone who lands on my site, I'm going to show them this ad. And that's most of the retargeting that I see as a consumer, as a searcher. Is they just I visited this site and now they're showing me their ads. Even if I'm already using their service and paying for it, they're still showing me their ads. So that's very unsophisticated. You can also do it based on, let's say, someone lands on your shopping cart and they don't convert. You can then send them a specific set of ads that will follow them around when they go to other sites that have AdSense on it. So how to use this with retargeting is when you create audiences for retargeting, and you want to define the audience so that you have a sense of what's on their mind. And you can do it based on the key objection. if they abandoned their shopping cart? Was the key objection money at that point? Was it not enough proof? Was it I was worried that I would have to explain this to my significant other and I wasn't confident about it yet? So you can test those, and so you could have an ad saying, Miele vacuum cleaners 90-day free trial. Never buy a Miele by mistake, something like that. So and again, it always comes back to the question: what do they want? What's in their mind right now? And too often we write our ads in the AdWords interface instead of writing our ads from within our client's avatar. We want to get into their blue bodies, live their lives, at least imaginatively, and then write ads that they want to see. What's the promise they want to see? What's the objection that's bothering them right now? What's stopping them from stepping into the hero's role and taking action and slaying the dragon in their life?
Right.
I mean, that is good. That's great advice. The other thing with you saying about different avatars as well, I guess the beauty of the testing is that you can test multiple landing pages for different types of customer.
Absolutely. That this is really the genius of AdWords. When I first got into AdWords, and I wrote a book about it, and I kind of got known for it, I got very myopic. I started to feel like AdWords is the best thing ever. It's the best place to advertise. And the truth is, it's absolutely not. It's expensive. It's hard. It's highly competitive. It has limited appeal to, it only appeals to people who are clearly searching for a solution for a problem right now. So there's lots of ways in which it is not an ideal advertising medium. What it is ideal for is quick, cheap, incredibly accurate testing. And once you test something in AdWords, you can send it all over the place. You guys know my colleague Joel McDonald, right? Sure.
Yeah.
So he made his fame by working with a very, very significant national account. They would spend like, I don't know, $500 a month or $1,000 a month on AdWords, and he would run tests and tell them what worked. And then a month later, he would see that message in a full-page USA Today spread or a TV commercial. So the amount of leverage you can do, because if it's a place where it's hard to test or impossible to test, or it would take 6 months to get a result, for a couple $100 in AdWords, you can know exactly what to test. So a famous modern example of this is Tim Ferriss's first book, The 4-Hour Workweek. That title was the winning Google ad. He put up some keywords related to the topic, and one of them that lost was selling drugs for fun and profit, because his first business was like supplement business.
Yeah.
And 4-Hour Workweek was the thing that won, and that has become his entire brand. And it was based on a couple $100 of AdWords testing.
Right.
It's funny. I actually know Tim, and it killed him because he didn't want to call it that at all.
I bet. And you can see
he hated it, but it's done him it's done quite well for him.
Yeah, I guess he's come to like it now.
Yeah. I'm just thinking. I mean, say for instance, you are a software company, and you want to consider the approach you use in your messaging, just on packaging or whatever. So you could actually test any kind of message through your ad or through a landing page to see the results before you threw out a full marketing effort in print or anywhere else, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the key thing is to make sure you're making apples to apples comparisons, so that you make sure that the people who are going to be walking into the store and handling your product are the same people who are going to be searching. So you might only do it for certain keywords, or you might only do it in the display network if you think they're going to walk into a store without wanting your product, but they'll sort of stumble upon it. Is that more of an interruption or a permission situation? So is the end user who's doing the online search, the same person who gets sent out to the store to buy. So you want to you want to think about those things, but in general, people are people, and a good clear sales message that speaks to people's aspirations is going to work across the board as long as you've correctly identified those aspirations.
So you mentioned the display ads just now. One thing you said in your presentation is how the purpose of the landing page is to remove obstacles in the way of the person fulfilling their desire. How does that ring true for display ads, where the person was interrupted? They weren't planning on, they didn't sit down on the computer to buy, say, a lawn chair, but they saw an ad and now they're looking at lawn chairs. So
right. Thank you for that, because I wasn't clear enough. This is for search-driven marketing. A landing page where someone is already searching doesn't have to convince them that they should be searching. If it's in display, then it's a different story. Then it's more like the old-fashioned sales letter. Then you get them with a, typically a display ad is some combination of curiosity and benefit, and it has a much lower bar. So the job of a display landing page, generally, in my opinion, is to give away something wonderful and free. And so you still have to sell that, because you have to sell it on why is this worth my time, why is it worth the risk of giving you the information. So the software company may have a white paper saying here's how to solve a problem that no one's been able to solve before. Or the vacuum cleaner might be videos, video tests, which vacuum cleaner really cleans the air, unbiased demonstrations. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to trying to get them to buy right off of, hey, nice to meet you.
Right. Now here's something that I mean, I feel this way a lot, but I also hear it from other people that have online retail type of businesses, where the concern is, well, what I sell is really boring. Like there's not, like let's say you sell lawn chairs, and that's your market. Is it impossible to come up with interesting ways to frame a lawn chair, or can you do it?
Yeah. Oh, sure. The good news is it's impossible for your competitors.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, lawn chairs. I thought you were going to say something like, Scotch tape. Lawn chairs is this. So first of all, your mascot is Lawn Chair Boy, right? So why do people get lawn chairs? It's not boring to them. When you're ready to buy a lawn chair, you have, you have a vision of what it's going to do for your life. So imagine someone who all of a sudden, they can now have parties in their backyard that they couldn't have before. Or they had these gross things that they got from their parents' garage when they moved out, and now they're getting their own lawn chairs. I mean, it's not about the lawn chairs, right? It's about the being outside. It's about leisure, about relaxation, about ease of maintenance. You don't have to buy these grody things. I remember when I was a kid, lawn chairs were made of this sort of buckle weave material that was like strands of Coke bottle. Mm-hmm. Or it was this like really sticky, hard beige plastic that would like make a sucking sound off your back when you got up. Like, think about the aspirations of the person who wants to buy the lawn chairs, and also everybody wants to do business with somebody interesting. Right? Even if you go to the supermarket, you want the cashier to say "Have a nice day," to be funny. People like to do business with people. So if you have a fun, lighthearted attitude about it, and you create a brand that celebrates something, it can celebrate something far beyond the physical details. That's why I love going into Hero's Journey. I love going into avatar work, because then you have a whole different playground to think about how to make people happy, how to solve their problems, how to enrich their lives.
Yeah, that kind of opens the door to a lot more possibility as opposed to just thinking about the product itself. So I'll try to keep that in mind. And I got one last question for you, and then we'll wrap this up and let everybody get back to work. So personally, I've never been really good at writing the actual ads, and in 2004, 2005, I can get away with that just by having the keyword prominently across. Because remember, back in the day, nobody really segmented their ad groups or their campaigns. So I noticed that in a lot of your examples are a lot more marketing and benefit driven in the ad headline as opposed to just putting the keyword in. So have you noticed that the idea that you have to have the keyword in the title just doesn't apply anymore if you're creative enough?
Right. Well, here's, the benefit of having the keyword in the title is threefold. One is the person just typed it, so that's clearly what's on their mind. So as a good student of NLP, you want to say back to them exactly what they said to you. The second benefit is the keyword gets bolded by Google when it appears in the ad, so it gains some eye gravity. The third benefit is that Google thinks that it's more relevant. So those are three very good reasons to put the headline, to put the keyword in the headline. However, there's one very good reason not to, which can trump all of those, which is if all your competitors are doing it, then the headline is essentially invisible wallpaper. Right? I took out a slide from this. I took a screenshot of the Google search results page for Gibson guitars, and guess what? Out of 11 ads, 11 of them, the headlines were Gibson guitars, and the only difference was one said like Gibson guitars for sale. So at that point, our brains quickly learn how to remove everything that's superfluous. We just don't see it anymore. Right? Everyone's sitting in a room right now where there's ambient air, there's maybe the hum of a light or a fan. We block that stuff out because it's not important to us. And so that's what we do. We turn it into wallpaper and we never see it again. So if you can come up with an ad with a headline that compels interest, think of how something can get your attention. Think about you're driving in the car and all of a sudden you see red and blue flashing lights behind you and you hear a siren. That gets our attention pretty good. Right? Yeah. So can you create that kind of ad where even as they're scanning the page very quickly, subconsciously, they get an emotional rush from your headline before they've even consciously read it? Because that's how our emotional systems work. That's how our limbic brains work. Otherwise, we would have been eaten by lions and bears long ago because we recognize danger through a different pathway, and we recognize opportunity through a different pathway than the conscious brain.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. John, anything else you want to chime in before we wrap up?
I don't think so. Nothing specific. I mean, there's quite a few people have asked for the interest in speaking to Howie afterwards, to Howard on for their business. So so I think we can organize that. Can we, Eric?
Yeah. So we'll have GoToWebinar send out an email when it's over, probably either late this afternoon or tomorrow morning. And yeah, we'll put all the information in that email if you'd like to follow up on it.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. So it's been a real pleasure chatting with you guys and talking to the esteemed participants in this webinar.
Great. Thanks for talking to us too. We appreciate the conversation. I learned a lot.
Yeah. Thanks, Howard. I was going to say, and that's going to keep me busy for the next day or two.
Yeah.
Ideas and going through my notes. Thank
cool.
you.
Well, remember to stick to that 4-hour work week. Don't overdo it.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.